Radio Algeria International. You will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf has affirmed that the genocidal war waged in Gaza and its extension to the West Bank and Lebanon would not have been possible if the international community had adopted a firm stance on sanctions to be imposed on the Israeli occupying authorities. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati has said that his country is facing one of the most dangerous phases in his country, or calling on the UN to provide aid for 1 million people displaced by the Israeli occupation airstrikes. The UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Stefan de Mistura, will visit refugee camps in 2 days' time and meet the Sahrawi authorities to advance the process of a political settlement. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smani. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received messages congratulating him for his re-election for a second term from the Bulgarian President, Roman Radev, the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, and the Slovenian President, Ms. Natasha Pirc Musar. The Bulgarian President told the President of the Republic that he was convinced that his re-election would help Algeria to achieve sustainable and growing development and to play an important and balanced role in strengthening regional security in North Africa and the Sahel. He reiterated his willingness to work together in strengthening the bilateral relations in all areas within a mutually beneficial framework. On the occasion, the Congolese president welcomed the level of cooperation with and friendship between the two countries and expressed his willingness to develop them further in the best interest of both peoples, reiterating his wishes for his success in his high office. In her message, the Slovenian president praised the existing privileged bilateral relations crowned by the opening of embassies by the two countries and called for continued work with the President of the Republic in the light of Algeria's achievements at bilateral and multilateral levels, particularly at the Security Council and Algeria's efforts to promote world peace. As you followed in our top stories, Algeria's Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf has affirmed that genocidal war waged in Gaza and its extension to the West Bank and Lebanon would not have been possible if the international community had adopted a firm stance on sanctions to be imposed on the Israeli occupying authorities. Addressing the general debate of the UN General Assembly meeting in New York, he affirmed that the same sanctions and coercive measures had been imposed to others as provided for by Chapter 7 of the UN Charter regarding the conflict raging in Gaza for over 1 year now. The Algerian diplomacy chief had this to say.
فالأحرى بالمجموعة الدولية اليوم.
The international community must rapidly put an end to the hell imposed to the Palestinian and Lebanese peoples and to refrain the Israeli occupier from engulfing the Middle East region into a spiral of crises, conflicts and endless wars. The international community must also realize that it is facing a crucial and decisive stage in the history. The Palestinian issue, a stage of non-return that does not accept hesitation or inaction in supporting the National Palestinian Project, a stage that must not accept delaying the setting up of an independent and sovereign Palestinian as a just, lasting and final solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
ودائم ونهائي للصراع الإسرائيلي الفلسطيني.
Regarding the Sahel-Sahara region, the Foreign Affairs Minister reiterated Algeria's full readiness to promote partnership to help the region's populations facing terrorism threats, poverty and political instability.
تواصل الجزائر مساعيها.
Algeria pursues its efforts and endeavors to establish a balanced, mutually beneficial and meaningful partnership in the Sahel-Sahara region, which is currently undergoing a fragile situation as the countries of the region are confronted to political unrest and an increase in the terrorism threats, acute poverty and a lack of prospects for a sustainable development, in addition to the threats posed by climate change. In the face of such a situation, Algeria reiterates its full solidarity with the peoples and countries of the Sahel-Sahara region and stresses its strong belief that its security, stability and prosperity were part and parcel of the security, stability and prosperity of its neighbors and its African space.
He also reiterated Algeria's aspiration for ending Western Sahara's occupation and paved the way for a resumption of direct negotiations.
تتطلع بلادي إلى تصفية الاستعمار.
My country aspires to put an end to occupation and to turn once and for all the page of Western Saharan occupation. We express our full support to the UN Secretary General and his special envoy's efforts to enable the two parties, the Kingdom of Morocco and the Polisario Front, to resume the process of direct negotiations to reach a political solution and allows the Sahrawi people to exercise its inalienable right to self-determination.
ستجد طريقها للنفاذ عاجلا أم آجلا.
Regarding the situation in Libya, he advocated the necessity to put a halt to external threats to help pave the way for the holding of fair and transparent elections and to end divisions that threaten the country's stability.
الجزائر تؤكد على حتمية الإسراع.
Algeria stresses the imperative to rapidly settle the external interferences issue which destroy the capacities of the neighboring country and feed the conflicts among their children. It's only that way that our brotherly Libyans can sit on a negotiation platform to achieve the national reconciliation and pave the way for the organization of free and transparent elections for the sake of reaching our high expected objective from the bottom of our heart to unify Libya people, land, government and institutions.
وحكومة ومؤسسات.
As for Mali, the Algerian diplomacy chief denounced the disrespectful language of some representatives.
لقد تفوه ممثل دولة من هذا الجوار.
A representative of a country from this neighborhood and from this space has dared to attack my country with the awful language that should not be dignified with a reply that such a honorable audience. My country should only answer politely to such a disrespectful and disgraceful language that truly reflects our loyalty and sincerity to the deep-rooted relations linking my country to the peoples and countries of the region that cannot be shaken or affected by provisional circumstances.
إذكائها.
That was Algeria's Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf. Algeria has taken over the presidency of two important social affairs commissions of the Arab Language or Arab League, namely the Arab Family Commission and the Arab Children's Commission. During a meeting held via video conference, Algeria took over the chairmanship of these two commissions for 1 year, succeeding Tunisia, noting that these two commissions were among the most important in the social affairs sector within the Arab League. Important issues relating to children and the family in the Arab world will be addressed during the Arab Family Commission 14th session and the Arab Children's Commission 28th session, which are to be held in addition to a study to be made on the values of the Arab family in a changing world, to be submitted to the Social Affairs Arab ministers for consideration at the next session. The Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Said Shengrihai, is on an official visit to Italy at the invitation of the Italian Chief of Defense Staff Admiral Cavo Dragon. During the visit, which falls within the framework of strengthening cooperation between the ANP and the Italian armed forces, the two parties will discuss questions of common interest. Niger's oil minister Sahabi Umaru has said in the western province of Oran that his visit to Algeria was designed to gain Algeria's support for the promotion of flagship energy projects in his country, namely the achievement of a refinery and petrochemical complex. In a statement made at the end of his visit to the refinery of Arzew, he said that Niger was counting on the support of the sister country, Algeria, to put these two projects into concrete form, considering their importance for the development of Niger's energy sector. During a meeting with the president of the High Islamic Council, Bouabdallah Ghulamallah, the president of the League of Scholars, Preachers and Imams of the Sahel, Abakar Walar, has praised Algiers' efforts to promote security and stability in the African Sahel under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. During the meeting with the President of the HCI, Mr. Abakar Walar, who led the delegation, thanked Algeria and stressed that the region remains in need of Algeria's support and development efforts. The meeting was an opportunity to examine ways and means of strengthening cooperation between the two organizations and to put into practice joint work projects aimed at serving African societies and promoting the place of the national referent and African identity. The UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Mr. Staffan de Mistura, will visit the Sahrawi refugee camps in 2 days' time and meet the Sahrawi authorities in order to advance the process of a political settlement ahead of his briefing to the Security Council in mid-October. According to a press release from the Polisario Front's representation at the UN, the visit will include meetings with the Sahrawi leadership to examine ways and means of relaunching the UN-sponsored peace process in the Western Sahara, which is at standstill because of the obstruction and stubbornness of the Moroccan occupying state and its constant violations of the ceasefire since the 13th of October 2020. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati has said his country is facing one of the most dangerous phases in its history, increasing the risk of a wider regional conflict. Mr. Mikati urged the UN to provide aid for 1 million people displaced by the Israeli occupation airstrikes. Mr. Mikati told a meeting with UN representatives that around 1 million of Lebanese people have been displaced because of the devastating war that Israel is waging on his country, urgently calling for more aid to reinforce ongoing efforts to provide basic support to displaced civilians. On Monday night, the Israeli occupation army said it began ground raids in Lebanon, targeting villages in the south of the country. Media sources said the Israeli occupation also targeted the capital, Damascus, killing several people, including a journalist. This large-scale incursion by Israeli forces on the ground is supported by air attacks on several villages in southern Lebanon. The Syrian news agency Sana has reported that 3 Syrian civilians died and 9 others were injured during an Israeli attack which targeted several positions in Damascus. A military source told Sana that the Syrian anti-aircraft defense intercepted the missiles and drones used in the attack and shot down most of them. According to the same source, the aggression also caused extensive damage to private property. Now back to Algeria. The Minister of Health, Abdelhak Saihi, has chaired a coordination meeting on the health situation in the provinces that have recorded cases of diphtheria and malaria, during which he gave a series of instructions to ensure the necessary treatment. After hearing detailed reports on the health situation, he ordered to immediately send additional quantities of anti-malaria drugs, vaccines and anti-diphtheria serums in order to ensure urgent and complete treatment of the recorded cases. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Thank you so much for joining us.